to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know that we're doing something a little different over the next several months. We're bringing back the most downloaded, the most talked about episodes from the last 9 years of A Well-Designed Business. These are the episodes that built businesses, that sparked aha moments, that turned you into an action taker. Now, if you're wondering why we're revisiting these episodes and what's changing with the show overall, well, I walk you through the full vision in our April 25th, 2025 episode titled The Big Shift, What's Changing on a Well-Designed Business and Why. That episode is linked for you in the show notes. Now, a quick heads up. These episodes are airing as they originally did. That means the music might sound familiar or it might be vintage. That means the event dates will definitely be out of date that I talk about. And it also means that any offers that are mentioned may or may not be valid still. But the insights, still golden. So whether it's your first time hearing this episode or your fifth time hearing it, there's something in this conversation for you right now in this season of your business. So here's the show. I hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to A Well-Designed Business with your host, Luann Nigara. Luann has a lifetime of experience building a multi-million-dollar business with her husband and cousin, and she knows the challenges you face in your interior design business. Luann brings you real-life answers to your most pressing problems, as well as practical strategies to explode your interior design business. So, let's get to the business of interior design.
Hi, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. My guest today has two areas of expertise that I was interested in sharing with you. The first is that she has taken her side hustle interior design business full-time, leaving the security of her corporate job. And the second is that she actively engages in the business mentor and mentee relationship. If you're not sure, but you think you know who I'm describing, let's see if you're right. I'm talking about Cheryl Luckett, the principal of Dwell by Cheryl. So you may be thinking, why is all this familiar? Well, if you're a loyal listener, you heard the show a couple of months ago with Rashida Gray from Gray Space Interiors. And she is also someone who has a full-time corporate job and working very hard on the side to build her interior design business. And she described how she has a mentor that's been helping her do that. And Cheryl is that mentor. So, of course, I had to, round all the ponies around and put the circle together for us because I wanted to hear from her too. Now, before I introduce her to you, though, let me tell you a little bit about her firm. Southern Home described her firm as opulence in reach with vintage treasures and ingenious restyles. Cheryl believes her clients should dwell in a home they love. She describes her design as sophisticated but approachable. She launched in 2012 and she continues to grow with clients raving about her ability to transform a space on a realistic budget. It's also her professionalism and attention to detail that earn her high praise. Cheryl will talk to us in the interview about how she worked for 15 years at a Fortune 500 company, and she was initially a registered dietitian and then a human resources professional. It was here that she developed her service skills and her business acumen. And I'll just remind you of episode 6, where Erica Ward told us, make sure that you think about and you utilize your transferable skills when you open your interior design firm. We're going to hear how Cheryl did exactly that. Now, Cheryl's work has been published in Charlotte Home and Garden, Southern Home, The Charlotte Observer, Queen City Exclusive, and Huffman Media's Southern Spaces, to name just a few. She is a 5-time recipient of Best of House Award for Design and Customer Satisfaction, and in 2015, she was named one of the 15 best designers in Charlotte by Build Direct. Cheryl also believes in giving back, and she has partnered locally with agencies such as Goodwill of the Southern Piedmont and Metrolina Habitat Restores to promote the nonprofit retailers and their missions. Now, before we start with our episode, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Cravat, featuring CuratedCravat.com. CuratedCravat.com is your go-to site for all things fabulous for your interior design projects, from affordable accessories to complete a coffee table or a side table vignette, all the way to dramatic lighting needed for a show-stopping dining room. Design click delivered at CuratedCravat.com. Use the code CKPodcast for 10% off your first order. Okay, let's meet Cheryl. Hey, Cheryl, thank you so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Thank you so much for having me, Luann.
Oh, this is going to be fun. We have so many little connections here, and this is like becoming... It's just a really cool thing. I say it whenever I do an in-person appearance with people and I have a panel discussion or an address that I'm giving, that I always say, look, you guys hear me complain about all the work that social media creates in our business lives, and that all of you that are not in business since the dawn of the caveman like I am, you don't understand what it was like to just go to work and do your work and come home, okay? But this is the part of social media that I truly do value. You and I met at Design Bloggers Conference last year in 2017 in LA. And the funny thing is, do you remember that how it actually was? I don't know if you remember. I'm going to just share this with you.
Okay.
Because oh my God, now I'm going to go blank on her name, was giving the keynote address. It has an S. I'm getting an S and a K. I'm so horrible.
Stacy.
Yes. Okay. See, Stacy Kunstler, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
See, I get letters. I people like, that's so funny. Everybody's like, you get visions. I'm like, I get visions for things that I see that are going to happen to my life. And I get letters when I'm trying to remember something. And I'm almost always right. That's so funny. So, but anyway, so Stacy was up and she was giving I think it was the morning welcome address after Adam, right? And she mentioned you in the address. And what was funny was, our panel was up right after that. And when I was giving my part of my presentation, it tied in directly with what she had just said about you. So I impromptu looked at you and called you into my presentation. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
I know. That was so cool. So anyway, and then of course, then the rest is history with social media, because now we're just besties forever, right?
There you go. There you go. Love it.
Right. So now, how much to my surprise, though, when I'm interviewing Rashida Gray of Gray Space Interior Design in episode 267, and she starts talking about her mentor, and it's you. And I'm just like, wait a minute. This is
it's
crazy.
Such a small community. Yep.
Yeah. And you guys aren't anywhere from the same part of the country. You and I aren't from the same part of the country. We meet in another part of the country that neither one of us are from. It's just
right.
That's I have to say. I really do love that part of social media. So anyway, so we knew that we had to eventually do this interview, and then that put the fire under my butt, because you have two really great things that I think are going to be powerful to share with your peers today, Cheryl. One is that you have engaged in this mentor-mentee relationship with Rashida.
Right.
And the other is that design for you was a side hustle. And yes. And so that has some insights that we'll be looking to hear, but that you also at the end of 2016, starting with 2017, made the leap and went out and did design full time. So I'm interested to pull that apart too. So which do you prefer to talk about first? Because I'm loving both of them.
It's your world. I'm just living in it, Luann.
You're so funny. That's awesome. All right. Well, let's do this. Let's talk about Let's talk about your personal business experience first, because that'll probably affect and inform the conversation regarding Rashida. So, so tell us a little bit about your insights on running an interior design firm while being in a full-time corporate job. Give us some of the ways that you made it work, the challenges, talking to the people who are in those shoes now and giving them a little tips and inspiration.
Right. So I am actually a registered dietitian by trade. It's actually a credential that I still hold. What is interesting about my background, however, is that my degree is in family and consumer science, which most people traditionally know as the old school version, the new school version of home economics. So home ec, if you recall, if you're old enough to recall back to when home ec was a thing, it includes several disciplines. So interior design is one of those disciplines, nutrition, childhood education, fashion merchandising. Well, in college, I actually took the route to become a dietitian. So my degree is in nutrition. So I graduated, started working for a large company in food service management, Fortune 500. I worked as a registered dietitian in the segment of our business that contracted school food service. So I was essentially the person planning school menus, being the voice of school lunch. I did that for about 10 years, and I started to kind of wonder what's next for me. I work at this large company. There's lots of opportunity. People were asking me, what do you want to do next? So I came to a point where I'm like, okay, what do I want to be when I grow up? Do I want to climb this corporate ladder because opportunities are being presented? Or do I want to do something different? At that point, I was traveling a lot. I didn't really have much of a social life outside of work. And I had this, I had purchased my first home, and I started to decorate it. And I developed kind of a love for design. And I think it goes much further back than that. But I started to recognize my love for design and home decor. And so I took a position in HR as an opportunity opened up, and it allowed me some greater flexibility in my personal life, a little bit more time. So with that new position, I said, let me explore this design thing. I think I'll sign up for a class at the junior college. And that's where it all began. So I know that's kind of a long story, but so I started taking a class at the local community college in design. It was basic drafting, and I fell in love with it. And one of my classmates said, you know what, you should write a blog. And I thought, really? And so I took her advice, and I said, I think I will. I'm decorating my home. I'm doing these DIY projects. Why not? So that meant I needed a name. I needed a domain. I wanted it to look nice. So I hired a blog designer. Before I knew it, I had a business.
Wow.
A very small business.
Right.
But, I had legitimate paperwork, and I said, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. Well, let me print some business cards. And I started blogging, and people in my community, church, friends started to say, hey, well, I got this project at my house. Can you help me out with it? How much do you charge? So
You're like, I don't charge anything. I'm not a designer yet. I'm just blogging.
I intend to start a business, but I kind of fell into it. And so I finished the first class, and I said, well, I'm going to take, what's the next class? I'll take the next class. Before you know it, I was full-fledged in a design program at the community college, going at night, working full-time, and building a business on the side.
Wow.
Yes. So I was doing all that, but honestly, I've never really treated it as if it were my side hustle.
Okay.
I think very early on, I realized, okay, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. So I'm not going to piddle around. I want to be all in, even though I'm not necessarily all in.
Right.
So I remember one of the first blogs that I read was Toby Fairley's blog. She's phenomenal.
Yes.
Still love her. And she mentioned this design bloggers conference the first year I was in business. It was 2012. And I said to myself, next year I'm going to that. I don't know much about it, but Toby said it was good. So I need to explore it, and I'm going to go next year. So literally my second year in business, I flew to LA by myself to attend my first design bloggers conference, and that changed everything.
Wow.
I think for the first time sitting in that audience, I realized this is where I'm supposed to be. It was almost a spiritual experience because
Wow.
I felt like I was finally with my people.
You were
This
in
is
the Church of Interior Design.
and I was baptized. So after years of going to conferences with dietitians and just not feeling the
They're not
thing,
my people.
Yes, I was with my people. So at that conference, I fell in love, and I think at that point I knew, okay, we need an exit strategy.
Okay.
And so that's where I began really focusing on, all right, how am I going to make this transition? Because I'm living a completely different life from what now I see as my future.
Right. Okay. I love it. I have questions. You know, I have questions in there.
Okay.
So the first thing that I just want to say, I can relate to what you said when you said from the beginning, you handled it like a business, that from an emotional and a professional standpoint that you were all in, even though you were not all in 7 days a week, five, you know what I mean? Because it's the same way as what I did with the podcast. It's clearly not the 60-hour a week part of my week, but it's, the 35, 40-hour part of my week. And it's always been from the beginning this, if it doesn't turn into the big, amazing business that I intended to be, it won't be because I didn't start it that way to be that, right? So I understand that. Do it right from the beginning, and if it happens and it grows, it's good. Good for you. I love that. Okay. And then the other thing is, I just wanted to go back to, you described how you're doing the blog, and little by little people in your community, your church, your friends they're asking you to design and decorate for them because they're aware of your blog. I have to tell you how many times, I, myself included, you feel like you're writing this blog and nobody's out there listening and nobody knows it. And so I have gotten to the point where I'm just content to have it there from an SEO standpoint. You know what I mean? Right. And I have said to designers that I've talked with, that I've coached, it's like, look, I know that it can find you business. I know that it can. I've talked to too many of you that it has worked, okay? But if it is not your wheelhouse, and if it's not your strength to do it, then I always say that's not the first place to put, 5 hours a week to create a blog, right? But so tell me, are we talking about literally a blog that is read by your 20 friends and family, and it just coincidentally, didn't even necessarily get much bigger before those 20 people told 20 people and told 20 people about your services? Give us a little bit of that transition from putting it in the world into actually getting clients from it.
Okay, so when I said I pretended like this was my real legit job before it really was, it meant that I invested in making it as good as I could make it at that point. So I had a really nice blog design. I would do a professional photo shoot at my house.
Okay.
I mean, literally, before I had a project, I had a photo shoot at my house, and I took pictures of every nook and cranny in here, and I put them on the blog, and it had this perception that I was probably doing a little bit more than I actually was, but it drew people in. And so I remember doing a blog launch. I like pomp and circumstance, so I remember having a countdown on the site, and I told everybody I knew. I sent invitations to people to log on January 1st, 2012. And so they started to anticipate when the next blog post would come. And I don't have a huge readership, but at that point I had the right readership. And all it took was for those people that I knew to read the blog. And then before you know it, I was at church and people were saying, "Hey, are you reading Cheryl's blog? It's really good. You should sign up for it." And it just spread.
That's amazing. I mean, and I'm going to tell you what it is that you were intentional about it and that you created a buzz about it. And as opposed to just writing a blog and hitting send and putting it into the stratosphere, the launch and everything else. I mean, I remember Claire Jeffords' episode when she was on the show. She talked about how when she opened her interior design firm that she had a little pamphlet or something made up, and she literally went around around and put it in the mailboxes of everybody in all the streets and neighborhoods around her, and called all the realtors and said, I'm an interior designer. This is what I do. And if I could help you or your friends, let me know. And so the concept, I've never heard of anybody doing it with the blog. And that's an awesome concept. So you created this little buzz. You created this thing. You sent out notices, invitations, told people it was going to come and they should look for it. That's awesome. I love it. And I have had designers email me. Colleen Prim emailed me once many, many months ago, and she said, what do designers do when they don't have work to photograph? And you just did vignettes, nooks and crannies all over your house.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
We've had other designers say that too. I sometimes think the new designers don't believe it. I have to say.
It is so true.
No.
There's a million things in your own home that you could probably, stage, photograph, and would be valuable to a certain, group of people.
Yeah, well, I see the vignette, the stage photographs of you can get 3 shots out of one kitchen counter with the way you guys are so creative in setting up the lemons and the flowers and everything else you do. It's like, so it's true. But what you said, you did just what I did with the podcast. You put dollar bills behind it. So you did it professionally. Like I have professional editing, you have professional photography, and you didn't take it, okay. Okay.
Because I had another job, and I really honestly think that's an advantage. I was able to go to the Design Bloggers Conference across the country because I had a job that could fund it.
That's right.
So instead of waiting until I was doing it full time, I said, well, let me take a couple of vacation days and go invest in what I'm trying to build on the side.
Right.
Because you can right now. You're not worried about income or, making the ends meet or starting the new venture. You have something that can support those.
Exactly. Yeah. And when we talk about the readership at the beginning of the blog, and I don't know if you remember the numbers, but it's no different than that's why it brought to mind what Claire Jefford did. It's really, if there's 20 people that are reading it, that's 20 people that could potentially tell 20 other people each. Right? So it really isn't that you need. And so the difference in when designers have said to me, the blog doesn't work, I never get any clients from the blog. The difference is that one is just sitting there waiting for the world to come to it, but you brought it to your community.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And honestly, probably one of my first 20 readers became a client.
Yeah.
So, those 20 people, while you might say it's only 20 people, that one of those 20, I decorated her entire house.
Right. Well, I always say, from day one, when I've always done sales in whatever position I've been in, whether it's window works or other positions, I'm looking for one yes out of 25 cold prospects. One yes. So that means I'm going to hear no 24 times. But that's cool because you know what? Like you said, one yes is a whole house.
Yes.
Yes. So, or one yes is one little bedroom, but her girlfriend needs a whole house. Right.
So, and that one bedroom becomes more photos.
That's right. Oh, yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Which attracts other people who need bedrooms.
Exactly. Okay. So I love it. So designers listening, if you have a talent and a skill and an interest in blogging, then yes, use it as a marketing arm, but don't just put it out to the internet and hope that they will come. Create some buzz about it and share it and actively tell everybody that you know that you have a blog. And why don't you tell your friends about it? That's the whole thing. We have to be our best own advocate. If we can't advocate for ourselves, why do we think anybody else would, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, but I think look, you come to it with experience. You're a grown woman with, 10 or 15 years of corporate experience. So you're not over processing, what if I do this and it doesn't work? It's like, this is what we do. If it doesn't work, we move on, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough lesson. It's a hard lesson, and until you've been through it and realized that, the worst thing that happened is it didn't work, and I tried something else.
Right,
oh well, that's really that's not really that horrible. The world didn't end. I'm still sitting here. So, okay, all right. So I like that. I like that a lot. So, now, I don't know, is your blog a blog that now has grown to be thousands or tens of thousands of followers, or is it still just a rather small community of loyal people? Where are you at with that?
That's so interesting. So when I started, the blog, I was blogging about 3 times per week.
Whoa.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
Well, as my business grew and the demand increased, that became something I no longer had a lot of time for.
Right.
So I remember writing a blog post called "We Need to Talk." It was essentially me telling my readership that I cannot continue this pace any longer.
Thankfully,
yes,
you guys are all hiring me, and now
right. So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But so I cut back to once a week, and now I'm probably doing real good if I can get out to a month.
Okay.
So it's just my focus has shifted. And so the blog, I still like to blog. I still like to put my projects out on the blog and give details, behind the scenes information. But I don't use it so much as a vehicle to capture clientele any longer.
Okay.
But that is where I started.
Right.
And I still found value in it, but it's not necessarily a driver for business for me.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, the thing is, I think the key is that it sounds like that you're a skilled writer and you enjoy the process of telling the process. See, that's the key right there. I've had designers that have asked me, I can't stand doing it. I don't want to do it, but everybody says I have to do it. I'm like, stop right there. As soon as you said I can't stand doing it, there's 10 other ways to market your business. Don't even putz with the thing that you can't stand doing. Like, that's just crazy pants to me. You know what I mean? It's like, why would I try and do that?
And your readers can tell you can't stand it. Right?
It's just there's always another way to do it that will feel fun and energetic and that you can't wait to sit down and do. And that's the thing that people will respond to,
Absolutely.
So awesome. All right. I love it. Okay. Now, tell me a little bit about the reality of juggling your full-time work as these clients start to come in. Are you just doing 7 days a week, doing consultations and sourcing on weekends, and now you're, doing floor plans and invoicing at night? How is this working?
Yes. And
yeah. It's like, how do you do a podcast with a business?
Okay.
Yes.
And on top of that, I was also in school. So,
right.
Yeah, right. It took me 6 years to finish the program I was in. It took me longer to do that junior college program than it did for me to get a bachelor's degree. But that's okay. I did that one for me. Right. And the knowledge was valuable.
And you have it. It's always there forever and ever. No one takes it away.
Yeah. So the balance was difficult. I am single, so there's that, and I don't have any kids, so I have a little bit more free time, but I will tell you that all of my free time was dedicated to building the business outside of work. I was really intentional about how I spent my time. I can remember I love social media and have used it since the onset of my business, and I remember literally planning out every day, okay, I'm going to post this post before I go to work. At lunch, I'm going to post this post, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to post after when I get home. But that was my sequence every day, and that allowed me to live in both worlds, even though I wasn't living in both worlds.
Right.
So that helped me to have a constant presence on social media, even though I was at work.
Okay.
So that was very helpful about really thinking through how I'm utilizing my time. But consultations were in the evenings. I did have to work weekends. And I was very upfront with my clients about my job. I mean, you can't call me at 3:00 in the afternoon. I may be in a meeting. My boss might be in my office.
Right.
Those times are off limits. So do understand that I have another job. And they were, I think, in being truthful with them, they were very understanding. If they needed someone who could provide a little bit more time, then I probably wasn't the right designer for them.
Well, and that's a great point, because almost anybody can understand something as long as it's specified and clarified and established at the beginning of the relationship. Right. Because now if you say that's how the rules are, and they call you at 2:00 and you don't answer, when you call them back at 6:00, if they're all, mad about it, it's like, hey, lady, we had an agreement, whatever, like you're losing your mind over nothing here. So, okay. And you're right. And the people that just would feel like, then they don't sign with you, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. I also managed my business, how much business I was taking on, which consequently created a
Oh,
backlog of people.
and a demand, the
A
takeaway.
demand. Yes, you got it. So what I would do is because I mean, literally, I'm going to school. I'm working full
I
time
can't
in,
even
in a
fathom it.
pretty big job.
Yes.
Um, I'm doing this business on the side. I'm blogging 2 to 3 times a week.
Oh my
I
God.
literally only took one project on at a time. And then I would say, okay, well, I'm currently working on someone. You can be next, essentially.
Wow.
And that snowballed. I mean, I would have like 10 to 15 people waiting on a list. And it got to the point where I would be like, please say you don't want to be on the list. Please say you don't want to be on the list. And I'd say, I'm so sorry. I'm really backed up. I'm happy to add you to the list, but do understand that it will probably likely be spring or winter. And they're like, okay, add us to the list.
Wow. And do you really, I mean, I said the takeaway, that's a typical sales technique. Do you really think that sometimes was part of the
do.
cachet, that people were
Really
like, I got to wait for her?
Well, everybody wants something that other people want.
That's
And so,
crazy.
yeah, I think that they were like, well, clearly if she's, that backed up, we need to get in too.
Now, how about the other side of that? Did you ever have the conversation with somebody and you said that and they tried to weasel it in and say, well, okay, but couldn't you just, and wouldn't you please, and it's just one room, or it's just I want you to pick paint colors? Because simple things like that, like I can see making the mistake in the beginning of saying, okay, I can't take full projects 2 at a time, but I could do a paint consultation on Saturday, right?
Yeah, sure. So those clients I would take on.
You would, but see, now I
yes.
worry about, though, that I would worry about that if you said, okay, all right, you want a paint consultation, I'll do it on Saturday. And then you're in their house, they're like, and couldn't you just start the design? Like you had to draw a line, right?
Yes, you do. And I have no problem drawing lines.
Right.
So I think you have to set those boundaries and you have to stick with them.
Right. And
my sanity depended on it at that point.
Exactly. But you could say, look, I told you that I would come and pick your paint colors. Give me the check. I'm leaving. I'll see you in 8 weeks when you're on the schedule for the full room. Okay. Absolutely. So, and that's, again, it's just making a clear agreement up front. I love it.
Yes.
I love it a lot. Okay. All right.
And
so
one additional thing there on the balancing the workload.
Mm-hmm.
I realized probably in year 2 that I needed some help. And because I was in school, I knew that we needed an internship. So I decided, you know what? I think I could get an intern. But I didn't want my interns to be my classmates because, again, I'm in school. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, that would be weird.
But I'm one of the few people in my class who has a business. So I sought another design program locally. And I went and spoke with the program director. I told her, like, hey, I'm still, in the process of learning, but I'm
busy.
Extremely busy. I have an opportunity that would give some of your students hands-on experience. I'm not a credentialed designer at this point, but if you've got people that you think would be interested, I'd love to take them on. So she started funneling me interns.
Isn't that something? And was there a program where it was an actual exchange for credit, or a relationship between the two of you and the
No, it was exchange for credit.
Oh, so that's organized.
She had to sign off on kind of what the program was, but that was extremely valuable because I had now some assistance.
Right. Well, and there's a situation like Erica Ward in her episode with us. I think it was number 6 or 9. Was it 6? Oh, that's funny. But she talked about your transferable skills, and your experience in HR, I'm sure, was so valuable because here you are, you're accustomed to setting up agreements between employers and employees, in this case, designer and intern, and, having parameters and laying it out. So that's awesome.
Right.
I love it. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so that's cool. So now tell me a little bit about working with the trades with your full-time job. So your kitchen guy wants to do a measure on Tuesday at 11, not Sunday at 11. How did you do that?
So early on, I had very small projects that were purely decorative.
Okay.
With the exception of maybe paint, cosmetic kind of things, we weren't doing renovation.
Okay.
So I think again that was a boundary that I established pretty early on. Okay, I've got a lot going on. am I able to take on those larger projects? And is that going to create more confusion, and is it going to be harder to manage for me? So I focused and stayed in my lane and kind of built that demand, and really didn't start to take on those larger projects until after I made my transition.
And Cheryl, was it that the larger projects like that in the beginning were not coming to you? In other words,
Yes.
You weren't attracting them, or did you
Right.
actually have to turn them down and say, I'm not ready for this yet, even however you worded it to them?
I probably turned a few down, but I think I was attracting those people who needed help with decor.
Okay.
Yep.
So, but in hindsight, if you were talking to a mentee and they were in your shoes and it was the beginning of their side hustling this thing, you might suggest, if they are not really well versed already, like you were still going through your schooling process, and you really don't have the opportunity to oversee a reno or something, you might suggest that they just sort of, just turn those away in the most respectful way and just say, this isn't really something. I mean, it's easily understood. You could easily say to somebody, you don't want somebody who has a full-time job overseeing this gut renovation, because if the plumber, cracks a pipe, where am I? I'm in meeting.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and perhaps other people might have. I think it depends on on the person, their skill level, and the amount of flexibility that
their
have.
job has, and also possibly the resources. Their husband could be their contractor, or their father. So then maybe that makes it a little bit easier for them to not be on site for things. Yeah. So we can't imagine everyone's situation. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Very cool. All right. So now, talk to me about the criteria for, in your mind, what did you set up as the criteria for literally leaving a full-time corporate position that was your previous career for not a minute and a half, like 15 years? That had to be a pretty scary decision. And I'm curious, because I'm knowing you, I know that it was well thought out and planned. So what did you set up as criteria, Cheryl?
Okay, so it took me a good 2 years to even be able to swallow the thought of leaving my good job.
Right. I mean, it's salary, benefits.
I mean, 15 years of tenure and all kinds of perks. And so I literally wouldn't even entertain it for 2 years.
Okay.
I mean, 2 years of doing the blog and doing people's bedrooms and, decorative projects. I just couldn't take my mind there. And I'm still in school, but I'm not committed to the idea of making this leap.
Okay.
It wasn't until the beginning of year 3 that I said to myself, okay, I think I really want to do this for a living. So like you're asking me, what will it take for me to make this leap?
Right.
Well, first I knew I had to make the decision. So I made the decision.
Always starts with a decision.
Yeah, always starts with a decision. So I seriously had to give a lot of thought to, is this what I'm going to do? So I made the decision, and then I put a time frame on it. Because I know me, I'm extremely goal oriented. I want to check it off the list. So I said, what is realistic for me to feel confident, for me to feel like I've got enough experience, where I've established a brand presence, a demand, all of those things. And I said, okay, thinking that through, I think 36 months from today.
Okay, 3 years.
3 years. So
Wow.
I literally gave it a title. I called it Project 36.
Wow.
It was like code for I'm breaking out of this corporate jungle.
I love it. I love
So
that.
Project 36. So everything. So I really, before I determined what I needed to accomplish, I set the time frame because I knew you could drag it out for 5, 10 years. 15.
Right. You could. Yes, you're right. Oh, well, it seems like, but I was going to do it this year, but there's a recession coming, or I was going to do it this year, and I'm really busy at work or something. Right. Okay.
So I said 36 months. Okay, Cheryl, you got 36 months. The deadline is looming. Here's what you need to do. That first month, I said, I need a financial advisor. I went to my financial advisor. I said, okay, I want to leave my job in 36 months. What do I need to do? So she gave me a plan for all the things I needed to do to financially get my house in order so that I could feel comfortable making that leap. And that in and of itself gave me a lot of inner peace, because most of the stress was related to finances.
Sure. Because you were already working and you were already succeeding as a designer. You weren't. The stress wasn't wondering, could you design or would you have clients? The stress was, would you replace that full-time salary and still be able to, go to a movie once in a while?
Right. So she put together kind of a plan of attack that coincided with my exit strategy. Okay, so that was number one. Number two, I knew, okay, it's one thing for this to be my side hustle and for me to have a website and the blog and all of that, but I'm going to need to up the ante if I'm going to do this full time. So I started to make those investments. At that point, I was using my blog site as kind of my website, but around year, probably a 24-month mark, I established a web designer who started to put together the website.
Right.
Because now I've got projects that I feel like, okay, warrant a little bigger of an investment. So,
and what you're saying is because you are working full time and you are now working full time as a designer, let's be real, you invested in paying somebody to build you a professional website. Okay.
Yes.
Yep. I understand.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I also started to, I had processes and welcome packets, but I had built them myself because this was my side hustle, right?
Right.
So I took those to the graphic designer and I said, you know what? I need these to look a little bit more professional. They're like, oh, sure, no problem. So I started to make those investments knowing that I've got 36 months, 24 months, 12, 18 months, 12 months. And it just, at all that while I was preparing for D-Day.
I love it. I love it. Instead of just like going along and saying, okay, Project 36, in 3 years from now, I'm going to leave my full-time job. And then on day one of the 37th month, be like, I need a professional website. I need professional. You were getting everything just like you were working on the side and building your portfolio and building your expertise and building your clients. You were building the professional side of your marketing and your branding and investing in it all along instead of waiting until, day one of the design full-time firm. Very smart.
Right. And just like I created the pomp and circumstance behind me launching the blog, I created that same kind of buzz about me transitioning to full-time because I wanted everybody to know, right? Because now I no longer have that.
Well, now you really are.
right? I got to get some clients coming through here.
That's it. Oh, my goodness. And so what sorts of things did you do to create that launch for your new business?
Well, I was always very transparent about the fact that this was my side hustle. Mm-hmm. And so I started, after I told my parents the news, I published kind of a series about my transition. So I told my readership, I shared on social media that I'm leaving my job at the end of the year. And these are the things that I've done up until this point to get me ready. So I essentially had a blog series around that transition. And so everyone knew on January 1st, 2017, that I was going full time. And so that just, that helped to build some of the talk. In fact, I had a news appearance at the beginning of last year as a result of me sharing that story.
No way.
The local reporters who follows me on Instagram reached out and said, I love your story. So proud of the jump that you're making. Congratulations. We'd love to have you on the show. But it was because I shared. I was transparent. I shared that.
That's crazy. Now, what about the current job? I mean, obviously that you had to have gone to them and how did you do that?
They knew I'm not good at keeping secrets, and I want to be upfront. So they had always known that I had a little business on the side. I never really talked a lot about it, but it wasn't a secret that I like to decorate.
Right.
Right. It's her
Your
hobby.
office was prettier than everybody else's.
Yeah, exactly. So at the 3-month mark, because I had a management position and I wanted to be respectful. I knew they would probably want me to help hire the next person and train them. So at 3 months, I gave them a 90-day notice. Okay. I was asked to stay a little longer than that, but
I told the whole world I'm leaving. I can't.
I couldn't. But yes, they knew at the 3-month mark that I was.
So you didn't have to worry about 6 months before putting it on social media. They're not in your circles.
I did not put it on at 6 months. I put it on at 3 months.
At 3 months.
That also tied into the timeline at work.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess everybody will be different in that regard. Some people will give notice. I mean, Kimberly was telling me one time she gave 2-week notice at a job. It wasn't a big management position. They were like, no, you could walk out now. And she was like, what? Like, like, I'm happy to do the 2 weeks. No, goodbye. Take your little pencil holder and go. You know what I mean? So there's all different. People are going to deal with different scenarios. So it might be hard to do a big launch if where you're getting your bread and butter is not going to be amenable to you leaving in that way. Okay. So, don't just run out and do all that if you can. So, okay. So, did you have any sort of criteria in addition to all of these things? I think these are outstanding and so well thought out. Did you have any criteria as far as minimum number of projects going on, or minimum net earnings from your business, or you just were between the work that you had done with the financial planner, you knew that you were going to have bills paid and that you were going to have to work hard, but you weren't like, you didn't need your design business to fund your lifestyle for how many months? Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So I had about a 6-month cushion.
Okay.
Head start.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that was what her focus was, my financial planner. She's like, okay, so if you're making this leap, I want you to be able to stand on your own feet without having to worry about what your business is bringing in for about 6 months.
Okay. That's smart. That's smart because you need that time to dig in.
You get a really good running start. I think if you try and establish, this is just my personal opinion, a net income, or I need this many, you can analyze that to death. I feel like I had at that point created enough demand, had enough clients in the pipeline. I had been recording the number of contacts I had each month for about 2 years. So I knew kind of the flow of business. And I knew that people weren't going to all of a sudden just stop calling.
Right.
I mean, I was getting better with every project.
Sure.
So it just didn't logically make sense to assume that now that I've made this leap, no one's going to.
Right, that the phone like is going to get disconnected. Right, exactly. No, I love it. I think it's so smart that you handled it. So, well, look, it is the basis for every successful interior design firm, that the business end of it is well attended and cared to. Do you know what I mean? That's just the bottom line. It does, whether you're, making a transition, you're starting out the gate from scratch, you're working with another firm and planning your own firm, in the future. It's all of those things. And I can see how having the 6-month personal finances accounted for, 'cause I often say I often have said on the podcast, well, maybe not so often, I've mentioned a couple of times how I like in our business how I am not responsible for the day-to-day overseeing of our finances. And I joke about why I like it because I can't add and subtract to save my life. Okay. That's the joke. Okay. But the reality of it, when I'm not joking and when I'm being very serious, is because I'm a much more powerful salesperson because I'm never selling from need. Yeah. You see? Right. I know that is a very real thing. I am never looking at the checkbook on Monday and going, oh my goodness, are we going to make that payroll nut on Friday? Okay. Right. And because you know what? Our business is very successful and it's very mature, but there are ebbs and flows. January, February is a very difficult month for all of us in this industry. And, not that we're going to go out of business, but there's weeks where I know my husband will look at me and he go, you have anything coming in this week? I'm like, I need to make payroll, or this payment is due, or whatever. And he's crazy. He's always like scared the other way. You know what I'm saying? And that's good. And that's valuable too. But I know that it's very powerful for me to not have that day-to-day, because selling from need is you are at a disadvantage. And the whole thing about sales is to either be even keel or just have a little edge on the other guy. You know what I mean? And so, because I did run the business at one point back in the early 90s where I had to do sales and the management. And it's a head trip to know that you have bills to be paid and you're like on a sales appointment, a potential client, you're on a consultation. And you can't be on your consultation thinking, I need to get this deposit. I need to get this letter of agreement. You have to be on the consultation thinking, what can I do for this person? How can I make their life better? How can I make this room prettier? Exactly. Right. So knowing that you had 6 months of all of your expenses paid enabled you to just step into it, right?
Yes.
I love it. I love it a lot. That's really awesome. Okay. So talk to me a little bit now about your relationship with Rashida. And just to remind everybody, Rashida Gray is the principal of Gray Space Interior Design. She was on the show. You know the episode? Was that 267?
267.
Yep. She was on episode 267. I met her at the Kravitz showroom in Philadelphia this past September 2017, and she just impressed me right off the bat. I'm going to tell you what, she is. She's smart and she's well-spoken, and, we're standing there chatting, and she's telling me about her business and this and that, and she's listening to the podcast and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I'm like, how many years are you in business? And she's like, oh, I have a full-time job. And I'm like, and you have that many? I'm like, 18 clients in your pipeline or whatever it was. I was like, oh no, here's my card. You got to get on my show.
Right.
And then I found out that you guys, that she reached out. Just tell us a little bit about the relationship and why in the middle of, everything that you're doing, that you agreed to have a mentor-mentee relationship. That's a really amazing gift to give somebody, Cheryl.
Yeah. So, my last role in the corporate environment was in diversity and inclusion. And so we managed things like mentoring. So it is important to me personally. And I know I've seen the value of it, particularly in a corporate setting. Okay. And so I do receive a lot of requests from individuals about wanting, seeking a mentor.
Yes.
However, Rashida reached out. I want to say maybe toward the end of 2016. I know I was still working full time. And she had the most compelling. First of all, I could sense her heart in the email that she sent to me. But she also was really prescriptive about what she was looking for from me.
See, that's so key, isn't it?
Yes, she did not say, "Hey, I love you. I've been following you." I have a part. I mean, I work full time too, and I'm doing design on the side. I'd love for you to be my mentor.
Right. Like, hello, open-ended. Like, what does that mean? Every day, every month, every minute, like speed dial? Like, what is that? Crazy stalker? What are we doing? Right?
Yeah. So she said all of those things, but she also said, I've been reading your story. I see these parallels between what you've done and what I'm trying to do. I would love to have an initial call with you for about 30 minutes to talk through some of the questions that I'd love to ask you. And perhaps, if we hit it off, maybe you'd be open to being my mentor. I see something that is completely led by me. Maybe a monthly call for an hour each month. I mean, she literally listed it out.
She's a smart kid.
Okay, I could probably do that.
Well, she took all the anxiety of what the heck does she want from me mean? You know what I'm saying? And because nobody wants to disappoint somebody. We all probably have the part of us that would love to help somebody. But there's also that part like, well, how much help and how much time? And then I don't want to be the jerk that says, I said yes, but this is now crazy and I can't handle it, right?
Right. And I think it's important. What she did that was really important was she said she would drive it. Mm-hmm. So that took then the pressure, because sometimes you think mentor, and I think, oh shoot, that's more work for me.
Right. Now I got to hold you accountable.
Right.
Oh, what did you do this week? Did you write your blog? Like, I'm not your mother, right?
Exactly. She said, no, I will drive this. I will come to you with a list of questions and concerns for your advisement. That's okay. Yeah. That's awesome. Pretty doable.
That's it. That's so, and even still, even with all that clarity and with all of the well-stated parameters, it's still a really amazing gift for you to do that. I mean, it really,
I love it. We still have a monthly call. We usually run overtime because we're both kind of chatty, but she still comes with an agenda.
Right.
And
so she hasn't.
A year and a half in.
Right. See, that's what's really cool too, because I didn't know that part of it. So 18 months in, and she still respects the relationship, even though I'm sure you are well beyond feeling like friends now. But she doesn't just get on the phone and say, "Oh yeah, I just missed you all week, and let's just talk."
No, she does not. And every now and then something will come up, but she will always be like, "Do you have time today? I got a quick question I'd like to ask you." Sometimes I have to tell her, "Okay, I mean, you can have an hour and 30 minutes. I mean, it's okay if we run over. I mean,
yes.
but I love that she's so organized and prepared. And it makes our time together that much more valuable. And I just think it's the way you should approach mentoring.
Yeah. Well,
Especially,
I mean,
more formal.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, look, I mean, I do one-on-one coaching, and that's the same thing that I ask them to do. I said, you know what, send me a day or two, the things that you want to cover, so I can give it some thought and this and that and the other thing. And also so that there's direction, so that we start the conversation with, look, it's 1 hour, you're paying for it. Let's get something done. But to think that this is a relationship agreement, and it's this many months later, and she still shows you the respect by coming with the list each time. I just love her even more now. I'm just saying. Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it's valuable. It's very valuable that the way she handles it, and that you they made it so that you could say yes.
Yeah,
so,
right.
And then I would think, I'm sure you've gotten something out of it as well, right?
I was just about to say, quite frankly, she has so much energy, and I thought I was energetic. She has so much energy and is always trying something new that sometimes I'm like, oh, well, I probably should be doing that too.
It's like, well, that's like me with the podcast. There's a lot of it that I know and I've been through, but every single interview I learned something new. It's like, wow, that's so exciting. I didn't know that. And it's fun. It's really cool when you have the opportunity to have your eyes spread wide open by somebody who is ahead of you, behind you, next to you on the experience path, but has a completely different path. So therefore it has no bearing if they're in business 1 year or 30 years. There's a way to learn from some. I've learned from people every single episode. It's so good.
It is so rewarding when she comes up against something that I've already dealt with, and she's tossing around a solution, and I'm like, oh no. Yes. I have been. This is what you don't want to do, and here's why.
Right.
That is so. I mean, I think about how much time and energy and heartache I'm saving her in those instances. That too is the reward.
Yes.
It's
fun. It's fun when you hang up that call and you feel like you really did create a little shortcut for her with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Very excellent. I love it. It's excellent. Anything else that you want to share in regard to do you have a mentor that you've worked with, Cheryl?
I do. I actually do. I met the person who mentors me, and we're friends as well. Okay. But I have a similar relationship with the designer in Dallas, Ruthie Stolson.
Oh, yes.
You know Ruthie?
Yes. I always see you guys. I always see you guys together on social media, and I did meet Ruthie in person, but I didn't realize she was your mentor.
Yes, she is. So I met her, though, at the Design Bloggers Conference that first year.
Oh.
We sat on the first row together, and we clicked on a personal level, and she's been in business for at least a decade, I'm sure maybe 15 years, and she really is just a little bit, she's ahead of me. And so I realized really early on that, hey, you've probably been down this road. What do you suggest here? So we have that type of relationship as well, and she provides a lot of value for me.
Isn't that nice? That's great. Ruthie's great too. Yeah, definitely. It's such a small world. That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. So this is what describing now is the value of establishing a relationship, a connection with somebody who's ahead of you in business, okay? Mm-hmm. But the other thing is so funny because our mastermind is launching. Actually, the day we're recording is the day the mastermind is launching. And these are going to be a group of women that are in similar place in business where maybe individually one could have been a mentor for another, but for the most part, they're in a similar place in business. And my greatest hope is that at the end of the mastermind that some of these people that are in it find a designer bestie that they can now go from the mastermind when it long after it ends and meet once a month by telephone or by Skype or, by Zoom or something, and be that what you're saying, like, how did you do this? And did you ever happen? Right. So it's one of the components, you get a lot of real time advantage of being in the mastermind. But I hope that some friendships and relationships are built in between here so that they have that help that, like so many designers tell me that they feel alone, that they feel like they're doing this alone. I mean, obviously, when the ones that are in the big firms, that's not the case, but the solos sort of feel like, and what's funny is, I live 13 miles outside of New York City. So even a solo here has so many opportunities to meet with others. But, when I interview some of these designers that are in rural areas, and it's like, wow, you actually really are alone.
Right.
Right. So, so it's challenging and it's frustrating, and it's nice to be able to talk with somebody that's, like you said, can just say, don't do that. I'm going to tell you why too.
Exactly.
Oh man, that's awesome. I love it. I'll tell you what, are you going out to Design Bloggers again this year, Cheryl?
I am. I'm actually going to be representing a brand that I'm now the brand ambassador for.
Oh,
Revolution
tell me
Fabrics.
about that.
Yeah.
Yes, tell me about that.
So, the end of last year, I was approached by a company, actually fairly local. They're in Kings Mountain, North Carolina, which is about 30 miles outside of Charlotte. Family-owned company. They make performance fabrics. They do so in a chemical-free way, and they make beautiful fabrics that are affordable, and they're made right here in North Carolina. And so they approached me about helping to spread the word about their product. They've actually been in business since the 60s, but they really have only recently started selling to the public and to designers. And so they're,
What did they sell to, like furniture manufacturers?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so I've signed on to kind of help get the word out about Revolution, and we'll be attending the Design Bloggers Conference and exhibiting there.
Oh, so you're going to have a vendor booth there?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, how exciting! That's interesting. Okay, so so they found you through your social media?
They did.
And they picked you because you're local to them, and they thought it could be a more enriching relationship, a local girl, representing and being a brand ambassador for a local company. And tell us about that.
Well, I think it was a little bit more organic than that.
Oh.
They had launched their new designer program. They reached out, I'm told, to a number of local designers to come to visit them at the plant to see how their fabric is made, to do a tour. I had just left my job, had a little bit more free time, and decided, that sounds like, a great way to spend an afternoon. I'm going to, drive down to the plant and see how the fabric is made. So I went and met the CEO and, saw the fabric in production, talked to the team. We kind of hit it off. So of course I became a customer. I started to use their product in my design projects, and of course photographing them, putting them online, tagging them.
Wow.
And a few months later, they asked me to lunch and said, we like your brand. We feel like it's in line with ours. We like that you work with more budget conscious clientele and families, and we would love to partner with you so you could help us grow and we could help you grow.
Unreal. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really something. So that's really, because that goes back to your intentional. We didn't even go into your social media campaign and how you built your social media following, but that goes back to being intentional and not just, flipping up pictures and not worrying about it, but tagging the different. I tell people all the time, Cravat has the hashtag InstaCravat, and I can't tell you, it's so often how I will see in the feed, somebody will actually say, "Oh, I love, using this Cravat fabric." And I'll be like, "Where's your hashtag Instacravat?" Like, come on.
Yeah.
And
you
the thing is,
work it.
for me, it's like, I don't get any points for doing this. You know what I mean? But you might get some points for doing it. And Cravat, they're not going to repost every single person that does it. They have 34,000 followers, but you might be the one that they repost, and if you create a scenario where you are continuing to show loyalty to them, just the way you were continuing to show loyalty to Revolution Fabrics, that's amazing.
Yep.
So, a little harder to get inside Kravat's wheelhouse there at this point. They have Candace Olsen and Barclay Butera.
Right,
but,
sure.
The point is the same, though. And I always make the point that I don't care how big a company you are. Everybody likes a little love. So if you're going to do it, hashtag the Instacravat. Just So in this case, you intentionally, well, that's very nice because they also made an impression on you by inviting you down and having met everybody. They were top of mind for you. And so then you kept it that way and now it reciprocated. That's awesome.
Yes.
I love it. Oh my goodness. That's so great. Great. It's just, I love these ideas.
I know. Yeah, social media is the best money you'll never spend on marketing.
That's a great line. The best money you'll never spend. Yeah, right? Yeah. It's hours and hours, though. It's a time suck.
Right. It's time. That it is.
It's like, okay. It's literally, you have to put time aside to do it. And I have to tell you, I would have not very little. I would have less gas. I would have less gas for the time that it takes to do it, except for two things. Number one, I truly love feeling like I know the different people that are always interacting, right? So I really do feel like I know them, right? But the second thing is, from a more practical standpoint, after having talked to Amber Lewis on her episode and Shay McGee on both of the episodes that she was on, when you realize the sheer number of hours that they have put in. This is not something like, Shay McGee said that in the first 3 years, she might have not been on Instagram a total of 5 times. Now, she has 2 children that were born in that period of time. So let's just say 2 of those times were the birthdays, the actual birth dates, not birthdays, but the birthing days. So it's like, and I'm like, because I actually thought about that one day. I was really very tired. The end of the day, and I hadn't gone in all day and talked to anybody, and I opened up the thing and it was like 70 notifications or something. And so don't get me wrong, I'm doing a happy dance. I'm so happy that 70 people are interested in talking to me. Absolutely. But I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, Shay opens this up and has like 5,000. You gotta be kidding me.
It can be daunting, but the payoff.
Yeah.
The payoff can be huge.
That's it. It's just like everything. It's work. It's a job. That's why it's a job, Right. So I think we're lucky because a lot of it is fun along the way, these relationships, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Very cool. Well, I love it. I think it's so awesome. And I will not be at Design Bloggers this year, but I maybe and hopefully I'll run into you at one of the other markets over the course of the year. Be fun to sit down and chat with you in person again. So, but I really thank you so much, Cheryl, for coming on. You shared great advice on the mentor-mentee relationship and also the criteria and the ways to think about and set yourself up for success when you move from your full-time business to your side hustle. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Luann, so much for having me.
Alrighty, I have a few takeaways. You probably have your own, but I'm going to point out the things that really struck me. The first is you have to follow your dreams, right? You have to keep working towards what you know in your heart you're meant to do. So if you are working for another interior designer right now and you're dreaming one day of owning your own firm, or maybe you're still working another job and doing your interior design on the side, just the way Cheryl was and the way Rashida is. So you've got to follow your dreams. You have to make a plan so that you can get to them. And this brings me to the second takeaway. And this was the big one for Cheryl. I noticed in her conversation that she does almost everything with a plan. She's very intentional. It's no wonder that she's successful. So the first thing that I noticed is way back when she started her blog, she didn't just throw it up there and wait for the world to show up like a lot of us do. Hello, guilty, all right? No, she created an entire launch. She created buzz. She told everyone in her personal circle about it. She had a countdown. And guess what? When she did finally launch it, there were people there to listen to it. Oh, hello, she marketed it. She made a plan. I don't know. Sometimes things are just so obvious and then you don't notice and you don't think about them, right? But who would do that for a blog? But how well it paid off for her. So smart. The other thing is that she planned her exit from her corporate job. She made a detailed roadmap that she created with the help of a financial planner. And once she identified what she needed to leave, she planned and she worked toward it. And it took her 3 years, but it was charted and it happened. And I remember Sandra Funk of House of Funk said it in one of the conversations that I had with her on the podcast. What gets tracked gets done. That's a great statement. When Sandra said that, I was like, stop dead in my tracks on that. And when Cheryl was talking, I thought of that. I thought, you know what? She plans it, she tracks it, and she gets it done. Okay. The other thing that she plans is her mentee-mentor relationships. Of course, by now, both Rashida of Gray Space Interiors and Ruthie of Ruthie Stolson Interiors are her friends. I'm certain of it. I know that they're her girlfriends by now. But the mentor-mentee relationship continues, and it is beneficial to all of them because it still is planned and it respects the process. Just like you have to do in your business. You have to plan, you have to build processes, and you have to run your systems. They're not something that you do for just a few months or for a while until you get comfortable or until you think you've got it. No, you have to be in them all the time. To be successful, you must always plan, you must always be in your systems, and you must always respect the process. This is how you cultivate success, how you create success, and how you maintain it. And Cheryl is a living example of this, and I just love all of the lessons that we learned from her today. Absolutely a slam dunk. Alrighty. I want to say, first of all, I just want to mention that there's a lot of iTunes reviews coming in, and the last two, one is from Lemongrass Interiors, that's Jessica in Florida, and Sarah Lynn Brennan from North Carolina. So thank you, ladies, for your reviews. I'm so grateful for them. Alrighty. Now, who's coming to the birthday party at Lefroy Brooks in New York City? The party is on February 21st. The RSVPs are pouring in. Some of the previous guests that have already RSVP'd that are coming are Sandra Funk, Darcy Heather, Marina Umali, Sarah from Chanceray Designs. So these are all people that have been on the show and that you might want to meet. There's, there's tons of listeners that are coming. Liza Jones is coming. So there's lots of people coming. Mimi's coming. Oh my goodness, Jenny Madden's coming. So it's really getting very, very exciting. So I hope you'll be there. Also, some of the execs from our sponsor, Kravit, will be there. And of course, we're going to be in the gorgeous showroom of Lefroy Brooks. To RSVP to come to the party, go to www.luannigara.com/party. Alrighty. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate that you take your time to listen to the show. I appreciate when you share your opinions and your comments with me through Facebook and Instagram and by email. And before I go, I just want to ask you, are you in a full-time job now and you want to be a full-time interior designer? Are you inspired by what Cheryl has done and what Rashida is working towards and what so many of your colleagues are doing? I hope so. I hope you're writing things down and you're taking notes. But more than that, I hope you're making some moves, okay? So you've got your notes, you've got your notebook. What are you going to do? You have to make a plan, but you have to make a move, right? You have to decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events.